Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for our webinar today, Microsoft Tips and Tricks. My name is Eleni Lepo, and I will be your host today. I'm the Marketing and Event Coordinator here at Kite, and I'm very excited to spend time with you today learning about some very cool stuff that Chip is going to share with us. For those of you who might not be current clients, just wanted to let you know a little bit about who we are. And Kite Technology is a managed IT services provider and consulting firm, and we serve small and mid-sized businesses across the United States. We've been around for more than 28 years, and we strive to help the organizations that we work with leverage technology to improve performance and be more secure. Basically, we take care of all your technology needs so that you all can focus on your core business. Highlighted some of our services here on this slide, and if you're not currently working with Kite Tech and would like to learn more, feel free to shoot us a message using your question box, and we'll reach out to you to set up some time to talk. I'm very excited today to introduce to you our speaker, Chip Seelig. Chip is Kite Tech's Director of Client Experience. Hi there, Chip. And Chip is joining us from his living room in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. How are things in PA today?
Drying out. If I look out the window, it was pretty rainy last night and today, but sun's shining, wind's blowing, so all good.
That's awesome. Very good. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Chip.
Sure, absolutely. All right, well, I am Chip Seelig, like Eleni said. I've been, it's my wife and my daughter. Been married for 13 years, dad for 9 years. I've been with Kite Technology Group since February of 2013 in various roles. I started as a basic tier 1 help desk technician, worked my way up to the team lead, did a little bit of time in our agency consulting, and then now I am the Director of Client Experience, which is essentially our account management team. I have about 14 years in the insurance industry with about an 8-year focus in insurance IT.
That's awesome. Chip, you have worn many hats.
I have, yes. And I'm wearing one today because I have COVID hair and it's all over the place. So
hats come in handy. Well, listen, y'all, I'm going to hand it over to you, Chip, and I'll see you all a little later when we get to our questions.
All right, great. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop my webcam so everyone can just focus on the screen for right now. So yes, today we're going to be talking about Windows tips and tricks. And it's a bit of a history lesson in there too, because along with this, we have to kind of understand, before you advance, you have to understand how you got to where you are. So a little bit of what we're going to talk about today is Windows 10. Why is this push for Windows 10 you guys may have experienced at the beginning of the year? What's new in Windows 10? Windows 10 is completely different than any operating system before it. Microsoft 365, what is it and why are we using it? And then we're going to get into some of the tips and tricks. I like to call it efficiency on using some common keyboard shortcuts and some smart searching within Outlook itself. So that said, we're going to start with a poll. There are 3 polls through this entire presentation. We'd like to have your feedback in it. It helps us kind of make sure we're gearing the conversation in the right path and go from there. So Eleni, I was going to start the first poll is, what is your role in your organization?
All right, hopefully everybody can see that. And we are starting to get some results.
Great.
Give it a couple more seconds. And well, we have quite a variety of folks here with us today. That's awesome. I love that. All right.
Give it about 5 more seconds.
Yeah. All right, we're going to go ahead and close that. Oh, we're getting a couple last-minute voters.
Oh, cool. There we go. Get in there.
All right, guys, come on.
We're almost, this would be great if we got 100%. That would be awesome.
I know. I wish they would help us out with that.
There we go. All right, we're good. We're about 90%. That's awesome.
All right. Here's the results, Chip.
Okay, great. So it looks like a lot of executive management. Welcome. That's awesome that you guys are here. But then it's split pretty good throughout everything else. So we have a I would say an average representation of what we'd expect to see in one of these. So this is great. Again, Eleni talked about, if you have questions, put them in the question pane. That way we can get to them at the end and hopefully answer all of them. And if not, we'll definitely do some follow-up afterwards.
Sounds good.
Okay. So let's go then, starting with Windows 10, the why and the what's new. So Windows 7 was great while it lasted. I don't really spend much time on Windows 8 and 8.1, as those I want to say are more litmus tests in the Microsoft world. Um, so we focus on Windows 7 because that's had the largest adoption base, and now followed by Windows 10. It was great while it lasted, but as of January 14th of this year, Microsoft stopped supporting it. The lack of support means basically a crucial security updates aren't happening on your machines if you're still running Windows 7. So it leaves you and your customers' data vulnerable. Windows 10 is more secure. WebRoot, an antivirus company, declared that Windows 10 is twice as secure as Windows 7 off the jump. Um, reason being is one of the main reasons being it has more frequent updates. Windows 7 updated once a week. They always, in the tech world, we call it Patch Tuesday. Windows 10 looks for updates every 17 to 22 hours out of the box. You can do some additional configuration, but as it ships, that's how often it's checking for updates, which is great because in the event of a large exploit, it's that the path to getting the security resolution out to the end users is much quicker. Now, some of you may have an IT department that wants to go through a patch approval process. So while patches are being released and being checked for that frequently, your IT department may have some internal vetting processes that may still delay it by a couple of days. The fact of the matter remains, though, they're still being pushed out that much more quickly. With speed as well, speed of updates, it's also speed of the software itself. It loads and awakes from sleep much faster than Windows 7, which means more productivity. And it also can take better advantage of today's hardware. So your solid state drives, which are a change from your traditional hard drives, your multi-core processing, there's just various things that it can do better with the architecture of today. And Microsoft felt that an updated interface was required. As more people are getting used to technology and touch screens on their phones, Microsoft wanted to bring that type of interface to the computer experience. They wanted to build a single user interface, which is familiar to the traditional PC laptop user, as well as those who are using a touch screen like an iPad, a tablet, or a cell phone. There's really no better place to see this than with the new Windows Start menu. So why is it new? Well, it has a bunch of new features, and we'll take a look at this in a little bit as to what looks different, because some of you may still be on Windows 7 or just may have never had a tour of Windows 10. And it's important to see this tour because it kind of ties into how you get things done a little bit quicker. Because if you're still using Windows 10 with a Windows 7 mentality, you're not doing things probably the way it was intended. So back with the Start menu, right from the jump, you have a quicker access to PC settings, your pictures, and your documents. There's live tiles for weather and photos. There's filtering that can be done as far as just typing right away in the Start menu. You can pin items to the taskbar and to the Start menu. And recently, with an update to Windows 10, they brought back Start menu folders. That was a feature that was big in Windows 7. When you install an application, it would be in a folder, or you could set a folder up that was Microsoft Office and have all of your Office applications in a specific folder. Well, now you can have that folder, but then you can also have that folder as a tile in the Start menu, and I will show that in a little bit. You also have the new File Explorer, which has the ribbon overlay. If you've been using Microsoft Office from about 2010 on up, when they first came out with the ribbon overlay, you notice that has permeated its way through the whole Office ecosystem. It's now going into the Windows environment as well. So you have things that are more frequent or more familiar to what you've seen while you're in your Office applications. There's an area for frequent folders and recent files. You can pin favorites. Quick access is an area that shows all of your recent stuff in the first screen when you open File Explorer. However, you can change that if you like back to the traditional look of what Windows 7 would do. Is when you open File Explorer, it would just kind of show you your network shares and your C drive, and I'll show you how you do that. The other big piece is Files on Demand, which is powered by Microsoft 365. This is what will allow you, based on your level of licensing with Microsoft 365, access to your files from your computer without having to go out to the Microsoft 365 portal to work on your files. It's smart storage capable, so you can, have things available all the time downloaded to your computer. It's a copy of it. The actual file also lives in the cloud. Or if you're running low on storage space and you have a folder that you don't need any longer, but you still need the file, but you don't need the files locally, you can easily free up space on your computer with a simple right click and free up space. And the last piece that's relatively new and notable is Cortana. It's an AI-powered virtual assistant similar to your Googles, your Amazon Alexas, your Siris. It does robust searching. It can do all the things that it can, the other voice assistants can do. Plus, it can do a couple other things as far as launching your applications for you. So if you're multitasking, and you just want somebody who kind of speaks out loud when they think, you can interact with Cortana in that way. You can also change settings with Cortana. There's a bunch of things you can do, and we'll look at a little demo of that. So all that said, we're going to go ahead and take a look. I'm going to jump into a demo environment that is a virtual machine running Windows 10. This is, again, a demo environment, so it's populated by Microsoft data that's given to us to use for demonstration purposes. So first shortcut we're going to learn, and this is kind of jumping out of order, but I don't know how, there's a lot of people I've seen being on, sitting on a help desk where they'll put the password in, then they'll grab their mouse, they'll come over and they'll hit the arrow. The first shortcut you can do is just hit enter after you type your password in. So as we can see, this is the part in the presentation where we all stop and we go, oh, because it's a pretty panda, and that's just one of the websites or one of the backgrounds that came down. So it's a good distraction. It's a happy panda. Makes me happy when I have to work on computers. So we can see here that the new start menu, and if you guys are not in full screen yet in presentation, in viewing the presentation, you may want to do that. That way you might be able to see things a little better. But if we take a look, we can see here, we have our power settings, we have our settings gear, we have pictures, documents, and then our picture if we have one assigned, but this is also where we would come in to change account settings, lock the computer, and to sign out. The power button is saved for your disconnect from a remote session, shut down the computer, or restart. Windows 7, if you're familiar, kind of lumped those all into one button, and there were many times I had seen people who wished to log out or just lock their computer end up shutting down or restarting and losing work. So good on Microsoft for doing that. Another shortcut while we're in here, just because it makes sense to kind of talk about it now, you can see how everything is broken out alphabetically. Previous start menus did not do this. It was all just the list of everything alphabetically. Now, if you want to get to, let's say, Word quicker, and you don't want to have to scroll down, because while this is a demo computer, you can still see there's a significant amount of applications installed. If I'm interested in saving time, all I have to do is click on a letter and then come in here, and it brings up all the alphabet stuff. So I can say, okay, well, I want Word, and now it's already taken me to the W's in the list, and I can easily click on W or click on Word, and you can see, and we'll launch it. So again, some shortcuts mixed in throughout here. The start folders that I had mentioned before, you can see this is all grouped by Office 365. Now we can simply add something to the start menu by right-clicking on it and saying pin to start, and here it is, and we have options here. We can unpin it, we can resize it, say it's, you have a lot of things and you want to tidy it up. We can make it small, and you can see how much smaller it is. Some of these allow for large, which as you can see with this weather one and this photos. And you can see these are the live tiles I mentioned before. So I have some dummy files in the photos folder, and you can see it kind of changes and goes through. It's just nice to break up the monotony of always looking at the same thing. And you can see I'm in Gettysburg, and while it's saying rain right now, I don't think it's updated yet, but it is about partly cloudy and probably 73 degrees. And again, simply just unpin from here, but you also have other options. You can pin to the taskbar, you can run as administrator, or you can just go to the file location itself. And some programs allow you to uninstall from here. Gone are the days of having to go into Control Panel, Programs and Features, finding the software from a list and uninstalling. Again, this is not supported by all pieces of software, but it is an option that a lot of, especially Microsoft software, has with it. Here is the start menu folder I was discussing before. So while I could have a whole bunch of icons here for Outlook, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, Teams. I can actually have them stored nicely in one little tile that when I click on it, it expands. So it saves me room, and I can come in here then and click on what I need. Jumping to the File Explorer. Let's see if I can get that out of the way. We can see here's the ribbon view we had talked about. Again, if you're familiar with anything in Office since 2010, this is something that's familiar, and you can minimize it as you would in the past, and it would just expand to show you. If you're somebody who doesn't like a lot of distraction on your screens, you can, if you see this little arrow here, most of the applications that have the ribbon view have this little caret or button here that you can retract or expand the ribbon itself. So leaving it pinned open, it's easier to see all the options that I have available when I'm learning the operating system, so I don't have to guess of where things are. So in here we have a home ribbon, we have a share ribbon, so we could take a file and we could zip it from here. Depending on the file, we could share it, we could print it, we can do all that stuff from here. Burn to disk, that wasn't really an easy feature that you could do in Windows 7. A lot of times you needed third-party software. And then here's all your views. So you can do tiles, you can do large icons, and as you see, when you hover over it, it kind of gives you a preview, so you know maybe what you're getting into before you commit to clicking. And then of course we have File, which is very similar to what you have everything else. You can close the window, you can get help, and there's other options. Before I mentioned, if you didn't like this quick access, so this is the default view that you have in Windows 10, where it shows you your frequent folders. So as you use the system more, it sees what you're accessing, and it starts to populate this frequent folder with, or frequent folders section with, the things you're going into more frequently. And then here are your recent files. Now, as to contrast this, we can come into Options, and we can hit Open File Explorer 2, quick access is where it is now, this PC. This is the more traditional, or I shouldn't say traditional, but this is the view that Windows 7 users had. So if we come back in, we can see the favorites are gone. This is just our folders. Here's our devices. If we had a bunch of network shares, they would show up down here as well. Sorry, I had to get a drink. And then the last thing we talked about was Cortana. Now I have Cortana set to be voice activated. So we're going to try the demo and see if it works. If it doesn't, I have other ways I can show you things, but we're going to try it first, and we're going to ask her to open Excel. So to do that, there is a setting. Once you're in, you hit the Start menu, Gears. Cortana has her own section, and you can come in here, and there's an option to let Cortana respond to, this is the key, the wake word or the key phrase. You can also have it so it responds even when the display's off or when it's sleeping to wake it up. You can even set it further to respond during the lock screen. So to show that in action, hey Cortana, open Excel. And there we go. So while I said before is, if you're somebody who's typing and you kind of think out loud, you could be in one document and ask her to open another one while you continue to work in that other document. You can have her set reminders. You can, you can look up things online to do, funny jokes. You can have her do things like showing an agenda. So we could do something like, hey Cortana, what's on my agenda today? So you can see it popped up, and I don't know if you can hear it through your system. I have my sound off a little bit here, but it's actually going through the different things that I have today. So this is a good thing if you happen to have your laptop out in your room and you're getting ready for the morning and you want to know what's going on, you can ask for that information. You can set out reminders, the weather, and you could actually have her lock the screen as well. So if you've walked away from your computer, you're in a rush out the door, hey Cortana, lock my screen. and there it is. So now I'm secure as I'm leaving. I didn't have to come back and, wiggle the mouse or do whatever. Oops. It does it for you. So it's again, using the technology to your benefit to help save some time and just some of the new features. She can do translations. She can search for files on the web or on the computer. And again, there's some funny things. She can tell you a joke if you say, "Hey, Cortana, knock knock." It'll then end up telling you a joke. She probably isn't recognizing it because I was talking too much, and she doesn't really pick it out of the conversation. I know some of the virtual assistants are a little more sensitive to that, but all right, so now we're back at our presentation. So now we're going to talk about Microsoft 365. What is it and why? And again, I encourage you guys, any questions that you had. I know I'm kind of cruising through this. The presentation can go, but the hour can go by pretty quickly. So if you have questions, please put them in the question box. So for Microsoft 365, we have another poll. Delaney, if you can get that queued up for us. This poll is, are you currently utilizing Microsoft 365?
There we go. Give it a couple more seconds, Chip. All right, we're a couple more folks. All right, Chip, I'm going to go ahead and close this out so we can share the results. There we go.
Okay, so 3/4 of you guys are using it. 90% voted. There's 25 that still are not. That's interesting, and that's good. I mean, there's definitely reasons why you should or should not go to it. I personally feel there's more reasons to go to it, but we have to work within business decisions and budgets and everything else to make the best sense for the company.
All right.
All right, so Microsoft 365, what is it? So essentially it's productivity. So it's Office 365, which is what I'm sure you've heard of before, which is a cloud-based collaboration suite of your Office products and then some, SharePoint, OneDrive, all that's lumped into Office 365. Microsoft 365, depending on the plan, also includes a Windows operating system license. So you can build your own computer. You could, if you have an old, I say old Windows 8 or Windows 7 computer that maybe the guts are good, and it's really, maybe you replace some things. If you're a hobbyist, you can get the Windows OS from that. And it also has the Enterprise Mobility Suite. And the Enterprise Mobility Suite is really what brings you a lot of your next level security features that traditionally would be handled by a domain controller in your office. But now that most of your workforce has been displaced, either, maybe you found that out what it's like to work remote with the whole COVID incident, or, you just want to get the hardware out of your building and into the cloud. The level of control that used to be able to have in a domain is now shifted up to the cloud, and Microsoft 365 has the extra things built into it to provide all this to you. But the important thing is all of this is available under one administrative console. You don't have to go to a different place to manage all this. It's you log into the portal, you have the administrative rights for those IT people in the crowd, as well as anybody who would be an administrator for their company. It's very easy to manage and to see what you're doing. So that's the what behind it as far as what it is, but why does it make sense? Well, it allows you to work from anywhere with anyone. So there's a cloud-based collaboration suite like I talked about, and we will show a little bit of that in a little bit when we go to take a look as to how people can work on documents together. I could say, raise your virtual hands to if you've ever had the opportunity or had the chance to try to work on an Excel file and not realizing that maybe the salesman had it open and left to go to a lunch meeting, and then you went to try to get in it to make some changes, and all of a sudden you couldn't get in there because it says you don't have access, or it's read only because it's opened by Bob. This helps, combat that in a way, by opening it up to collaboration. Most of the licensing available allows you to have apps in the web and as a fully installed desktop application on your computer. That's beneficial if you travel. Say you don't want to take your laptop along, but there's a spreadsheet you need to open. And we'll show this again in a little bit as well, where you can sign into the Microsoft 365 portal, open up your email from there, open up Excel from the web browser, open up Word from the web browser. Is it 100% fully functional? No, but it's pretty darn close for what you would need to do on the fly. Excel is the big one where like some of the advanced formulas and things don't really translate in the web environment, but still, in a pinch, if you need to view something, it's there. You also always have the most recent versions of the software with the ability to go back one version. So some of the applications that we work with for some of our insurance agencies are a little more sensitive to the version of Outlook that's on there. So you can, or version of Word even as well, where you can. Now, in the past, it would be, well, we can't update that version, or we can't update to that because it causes this problem. Well, now we could roll back the version or the update to Office and go to the one that is supported relatively quickly. For those who bought licensing in a traditional fashion, you buy Office 2013, unless you bought something additional on top of it called software assurance. That was the large chunk of change you put out for that software that was good for one license. And if that staff member left or stayed, you already bought the license, you're stuck with it. So in this type of environment, in Microsoft 365, your costs scale much better. If you hire an employee, you can predict how much it's going to cost you. A lot of times, if you had Microsoft volume licensing, you would have to buy it in batches of 5. Well, if you're at 20 and you need to buy one license, sometimes you had to buy 5, and that's a large outlay of cash to do that. So it's all per user, per device, and each user, when licensed appropriately, can install that software on up to 5 devices. So what does that mean? That means you have a producer now that can legally, and I mean legally within the agreement, the license agreement itself, have Word installed on their laptop, on a desktop, on a tablet, on their phone, and then have one to spare. Maybe they have 2 computers. So there's so much so much more flexibility with that, again, for that one price. If you downsize in staff, you know how much you're going to save. Again, it's all very, very predicted and scales very well. The additional security features, this is also similar to Windows 10. You have encryption, data loss prevention, multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication is huge right now, especially in the world we live in, where credentials are being purchased off the dark web and being compromised at a record pace. And with that, multi-factor authentication, you have to provide at least 2 methods to authenticate against your account. So, practical sense, my password gets compromised. Somebody goes to try to log in as me, then they're on my phone. My cell phone is actually going to get a notification that says approve or deny. Hey, we noticed you try to log in here. Do you want to allow that? Now you have to be, cognizant of, am I really trying to log in somewhere, and don't blindly hit approve. But it is allowing that extra layer of protection. So even if my credentials were compromised, I would get that notice. I know I'm not trying to log in anywhere. I hit deny. The attempt is stopped at that point. Those features can be deployed on a on-premises server. So if you have your Exchange in-house, however, there is significant cost typically involved in that. The other features Microsoft 365 offer are, anti-spam, anti-phishing, and malware scanning in the advance of advanced threat protection. And what that does is that allows you to, when you get an email that comes in, Microsoft actually scrubs the link that may have a link to go to a malicious website, and they scan it first. So if you go to click on the link and it's a website that has a malicious payload, Microsoft stops you from going there. If it's a link that they haven't seen before, they'll actually stop and say, look, we haven't seen this before. You'll get a pop-up on your screen or in your browser. Give us a couple minutes and go, try the link again. Usually it's seconds for them to, send the link through their systems. Otherwise, if you click the link and it's a clean site, you just go right through and you're none the wiser. So again, lots of different security features baked into the product. So I'm going to take a drink and we're going to take a look here. And I was getting reports that the bottom may have been cut off. So I'm going to try to just not make it as full screen. We'll see if that's any better. Eleni, can you see that better now?
Yes, I can. That looks good.
Great. Okay.
Thanks, Chip.
Sure. All right. So let's take a look at the web version of Office 365. Now, again, because this is a demo environment, multi-factor authentication isn't turned on, but I can assure you that if I were to sign in, actually we can do it from here. If I were to sign in with my information, this is that extra step. So this is now my phone is turned off, so I can't approve the request. But as you can see, even if my credentials were stolen, even if I were bold enough to give you guys my password, almost like that LifeLock commercial, I'll publish my social security number. You can't take advantage of me. If I were to give you my password and somebody were to try to sign in, they wouldn't be able to get past it. So I just wanted to show you what that experience looks like. There are options where this is sent through the Microsoft Authenticator app. If you don't have a smartphone, or maybe your staff feels weird about installing an app used for work on their smartphone, there are other options for this multi-factor authentication. There are text messages that can be sent. There are emails that it can be sent with one-time passcodes. This just happens to be the quickest and most secure way to do that. Okay, so back into our demo environment. We're going to open up Microsoft Edge. This is the new version of Edge. There was a version previous to this that was Microsoft built from the ground up, but Chrome is the hands down winner, in my opinion, probably several other people's opinion, as favorited browsers. Chrome is built off of a project called Chromium, and this new version of Edge is built off of Chromium now as well. So Microsoft kind of took a chunk out of Google's handbook and said, we're going to do that too. And so far it works really well. So it's very easy if you're on the road and you're using, the free computer at the hotel. You portal.office.com. Oops. And I'm already signed in to speed things up. But as you can see, this is Office, or the Microsoft 365 in the web. So from here, I can access my Outlook. I can access OneDrive, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all of my apps are all listed here. And if you're an administrator, you also have the admin piece. Now, if I'm logging in for the first time on a new computer and I need to install Office, right here, right on the home screen, very easy. So I hit the drop down, I can click this, or I have options to go see. This is where I was talking about getting the previous versions and things of that nature. You can do that through here. So very handy, very easy to use. You also have your recommended files, things that you have open frequently. There's recent, pinned. Again, you can pin documents. We talked about that before. I may not have shown that, but it's very simple. If you come into your documents, you can right click on it, and actually you have to open it up and pin it. But it's very, very easy to do. And you can see here, I can pin it just by hovering over it, and it shows me that I can do that. I can also share it from here as well. These would be pinned. So if I were to come back here and say, this is a document that I use quite frequently, I pin it, and then I come into pinned, And there it is. So if you start to get if you go through a lot of documents in a day and this one would get pushed down at the bottom, if you pin it, it's always going to be there. This is also another time saver for the tips and tricks and the efficiency we're going to speak about later, but it makes sense to show it now. Shared with me. So these are documents that someone has shared with me. Again, maybe not be something recent, may not be something pinned, but I don't have to bother searching for it. I know it was shared and it's here. Then down below we have OneDrive and we have our SharePoint sites. So we're going to look and see what this collaboration looks like. So if we go into Excel, we can see this is Excel. It looks like Excel. It looks like if you were to open if I were to come in here and open Excel, this is similar to the opening screen that you have in Excel. So we can see the difference, or I should say the similarities between the two. Very similar, right? So now we're in here, we're going to open up a sheet. And this is the collaboration I was talking about. In the past, if I were to come in here and be working on this, and if I'm a producer and I leave for lunch, or a salesman and I leave for lunch, but my service team comes in and they need to put stuff in here, in the past, they couldn't do that. Maybe you have to walk over or call up Bob, say, Bob, I need your password. Big safety no-no, security no-no. I need to get into the spreadsheet to work on it. Or you open up a copy of it, and then now you have multiple copies of it. So this, we can actually work on it together. So say, Eleni and I are going to be working on this spreadsheet together. If I wanted to share it with her, it's very simple. You can see up top, there's share. Now, this is the web version, and you're probably asking, okay, well, do I have to share it from a web version? No. So if we were to come into this same report or the same spreadsheet in Excel, I also have the same share button here. So I'm going to close out of this because I want to show another feature. So while I'm going to share this with Eleni until she gets the email, it's simple. You click share and you have options. By default, it allows you that people in this demo environment, the domain is called Contoso. If I was showing you Kite Technology Group, it would say people in Kite Technology Group with the link can edit. This would be your domain name, but I have options. So I have people with existing access. So somebody who also already has access to the sheet, if I need to reshare it, for example, maybe they lost the link or whatever, or I can name specific people. This is a nice feature because so I say I send it to Eleni, and then Eleni forwards it on to either a customer, or maybe she's, Eleni doesn't have a malicious bone in her body, but maybe she's, going to be going somewhere else to work and is trying to plan getting rid of some of this stuff, to a competitor. If I say only specific people can view it, anybody who tries to click the link, it will actually bring up you don't have access to this file, click here to request access. And then the administrator and the owner of the file would get an email to have to approve that access. Other options we have are you can allow editing. So if I send this link out, I can have it be read only, and then I can also block the download of this. So if somebody wanted to download or save it to their disk or save it to their computer, you could stop that from happening. So I'm going to share it with a specific person, and it's going to be Eleni.
You don't actually expect me to work on the spreadsheet though, right?
I do. And it's telling me Eleni's outside of my organization. So it's a warning that, hey, do you realize that you're sending this outside of the confines of your domain? I'm aware of that. I can put a message here. If I wanted to type something in Outlook, I could click Outlook and it would actually do this really cool thing of putting a link in an email ready to go that I just have to type. Or if I'm just want the link and I'm typing it in another document, or maybe I already have my email drafted, I can get all that from here. But from here, I'm just going to send it to Eleni. She's going to get an email that says Megan Bowen has shared event setup contact sheet with you. Click the link to view the file. And when she goes to do that, it actually it doesn't let her through right away. It actually wants her to verify that it's her. So again, another layer of security that's provided rather than if you were just to send the spreadsheet off to somebody else. So she would have to go in and it would say, we need to verify this is you. Click the link to send a one-time passcode. Eleni would get a second email with an 8 to 10 digit number that she would have to type in then to access the file. So while Eleni's getting that ready, we should see her pop up here very shortly. Now we can see something happened up on my share screen. It says Eleni Lepo is also editing. Now, also you see I'm in the green, Eleni's in the purple. So she could type in here. Go ahead, Eleni. And it takes a second or two. There we go. Hi, Chip, I'm here. So now she's saying hi to everybody because she's polite like that. Remember, I said she has a non-malicious bone in her body. Now, let's say I was in a different tab and I'm working on something, but I know Eleni's here, but I want to, if we're talking on the phone and she's like, well, do you see what I mean about whatever? You know, I don't know what she's looking at from just looking at this. I just know I don't see her cell, her purple on anything. So if I hover over her name, it actually tells me she's editing the workbook X1050 FG results in cell A10. So if I look down here and I see X1050 FG results, and there she is. It's purple there. So cool. Now, somebody has shared this with you. It's maybe they sent it a link, and because it's a link, it goes to a website first, but you have Excel opened on your computer. This feature right here, open in desktop app. All we have to do, if you want those full features and all the familiarity you have with the full version of Excel and you're licensed for it, you come in here, you hit open in desktop app. It's going to warn you. This site is trying to open Excel. Now you can say, I always wanted to do this or not. I'm going to say open because I like the extra prompt to make sure it's an intended decision. I say open, and you can see Excel has opened. And now her changes are there, everything's there. I'm in Excel. I could close out of my web browser if I wanted to and continue to work on this. So pretty neat stuff. Again, same thing. It's a little different looking, but she's here. It says she's on 2 devices because she's probably looking at it on the actual application, or it's open in 2 tabs. Different reasons that it could be. I could point that out to her and say, hey, let's work on this. But if we minimize, before I said it's pretty close to being full featured. I know it's grayed out. It may be hard to see, but you can see, there are some differences in the ribbon. So again, not full featured, but enough to get by is what I would say. Now, if I am, I opened it in Excel and it looks the same or it looks different or whatever I want to do, I can close out of Excel. I can resume editing, pick up right back where I was. Or if it didn't open or something happened, I can try launching it again. So I hit resume editing here. It's going to sync the changes. You saw the screen flash a little bit, and now we're back to working in the browser. Now this feature, in the interest of time, I could show this same exact scenario played apart across Word, played out in PowerPoint. We just saw it in Excel. So again, it follows through all that. And I realize there's a lot of stuff here and I'm kind of going fast. So utilize the questions. We will get back to you if there's any, any questions that we don't get to by the end, but we will certainly follow up. Okay. So now we're going to talk about tips and tricks. I like to call it efficiency. And this was kind of given away a little bit if you saw all the emails, if you just registered the first email you saw and then didn't see the other ones or just kind of cruise through them. In a year, you can save 64 hours just by using keyboard shortcuts in your daily routine. I thought that was pretty fascinating, and there is an actual study about this, and the math that comes along with that are, it's 2 seconds wasted per minute. Take the per day you work on the number of minutes you work on a computer, factor in the year you spend at the office. It ends up coming out to 64 hours. I am no math genius. This definitely could be my face looking cluelessly at all this math happening. But I did watch a video. I was like, because before I presented this, I needed to make sure, is this really legit? Like, are there really 64 hours? And sure enough, they broke it down, and that was it. So I'd like to get 64 hours back in my life and in my year. I think that'd be a lot of work I could get done there. So we're going to talk about common Microsoft keyboard shortcuts. Some of these you may know, some of them you might not. We're going to talk about some smart searching in Outlook. While some people are good at just typing in, I need an email from Bob, so I'm going to type Bob up top. There's things you can do and things I'm going to teach you to try to filter it down to make your results and at least your searching more productive for you. So the common ones, we talked about this before, signing into your PC. These are real good shortcuts. Hitting enter after you put your password in. Your hands are already on your keyboard. Go ahead, just throw your pinky over there, hit enter. You don't need to grab your mouse and hit the arrow. Even faster is if you have a PIN. Now, Windows 10 offers you all of these different methods of authenticating into your PC. The PIN, what's nice about that is my PIN on my work computer is 6 digits. As soon as I type that 6th correct digit, my computer starts to log in. They've eliminated having to hit enter. So that's even more time savings. And I understand it seems petty, it seems small, but time saved is time saved in my opinion. And then the other feature is similar to if you have an iPhone, you have the Face ID. Some webcams that come in laptops or even standalone webcams that you have on your computer will use Windows Hello, which is facial recognition, and allow you to log in just by looking at your computer or looking at the camera. Now, for years, there have been other these keyboard strokes have been around for years. So it's the control key plus P for print. They're pretty self-explanatory. C for copy, X for cut. Think of X as an open pair of scissors. That's where they get the X. I kind of need some of these mental images when I go through this. Paste, the V looks like a caret, like an arrow pointing to where I want to paste something. Control Z, I had no idea where they came up with that. So I always came up with zoops, like, oops, I did a mistake. It's undo. And then Y, if you did, I've had this happen where I made a lot of mistakes and I realized I did something higher up in the document. I hit Control Z and I keep tapping Z and I went too far. There's also Control Y, which is redo. So that'll go forward to the steps that you did. And then another quick one is Shift Escape. Control Shift Escape to get you into Task Manager. Sometimes maybe your mouse battery died or you need, for some reason, some of the early viruses that came out, it would disable your mouse input or it would disable right clicking on anything. Control Shift Escape will open up Task Manager and then you can kind of tap around and do what you need to do from there. Some more of these are the Alt Tab. Alt Tab is probably something that I know I use a lot, but let's see if I can I can't bring it up on the other screen. I can show it in my demo environment what some of these do. But we can see, Alt Tab will bring you through the different apps that you have open, and you just, tab through the one till the program you want. You let go of the keys, and it opens that program. But now in Windows 10, there were some of these. They've expanded on Windows key combinations of shortcuts. There's arrow keys for screen docking. There's Windows key D to show your desktop. Windows L to lock the computer. We also show we can have Cortana do that. Windows E for opening up your file explorer. There's actually an emoji keyboard in Windows 10. So if you're, one who likes typing in emojis for one reason or another, if the old emoticon of, colon dash parentheses, you want to evolve from that. If you hit Windows semicolon, that brings up the emoji keyboard. And then Windows Tab is like Alt Tab, but on steroids. It shows you your Windows timeline, and it actually allows you to search for things, and you can have a separate desktop. So let's take a look at that real quick. So I'm going to actually Alt Tab into my demo environment. So first thing we're going to talk about are, we have Alt Tab here. So this is what I was talking about before. If you can see the white box goes around which window or which program it's going to open up if I let go. So we can see that Edge is minimized, but it is still open. So if I let go, it has switched me over to Edge. If Alt Tab takes me back to my File Explorer. There's another one I want to get done here. I want to actually pin something to the taskbar for another shortcut. If you can see, if you picture 1, 2, and 3, if you count over, say there were a bunch of icons on the bottom, but I wanted to open Excel quickly. If I hit Windows 3, you can have up to 9, and this actually corresponds with the number row on your keyboard. So if you picture, I can't bring it up here, but if you picture your number row, you look down at your keyboard now, we're on this call, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. If you have a lot of icons on the bottom, like you can probably see on my screen here, all of these correspond to a number. So if you have more than 9, you can't really do anything with it. But if you have up to 9 and you hold the Windows key and hit one of these, so if I were to, do on my computer, do Windows key 2, it's going to open the calculator, and it did it on my other screen, but you can see, maybe, there it goes. So we can see it there. So another shortcut is the Windows key using the number row to pick whichever icon is lined up in that space. Windows E we talked about, that's File Explorer. And then I want to actually open up another window here. And this is the Windows arrow key. So before, you can drag these over, and if I drag, you'll see it put a little ghost box up. Hopefully that comes through on the webinar. But this allows you to split your screen into windows. So if you're working on your laptop and you're used to having 2 screens at your house or your office, whatever, and you want to compare things, you want to work side by side, as soon as you drag and dock something, if you had more windows open, you could, just by clicking on the window, automatically split the screen. And you can see I can actually change the ratio of how much screen is showing on which side. This was a feature, Windows 10 had something, or Windows 7 had something similar to this. Windows 10 took it a little farther. If you drag up to a corner rather, and let go, you can actually break it out into 4. This works if you're working at home on your big screen TV. You could really get some stuff done by having multiple screens, multiple things open on one screen in a way that's easy to view. The Windows arrow keys do the same thing. So arrow over, I arrow to the right, I arrowed left once to bring it back to where it was, left again, I can hit up and that takes it a quarter, I can hit down twice and that takes it over down to the bottom. So again, another shortcut to move your windows around. Why I say it's a shortcut is if I'm already typing, moving my hand over to the mouse, clicking and dragging, do whatever I need to do, it's just as easy to hit the window and the arrow key because my hands don't have to move off of the keyboard. Let's see. Show a couple of other things. There'll be a handout, I believe, as well, Eleni, correct? That we can send.
We'll put something together and share it in the follow-up email so everybody has
Perfect.
these.
Perfect. Here's the emoji keyboard. Again, just want to show that really briefly. So here's the other cool piece. I want to actually show what this looks like so you can see that there is a difference. I'm going to let's see, pin this. I want to pin a document to my, I want to send it to my desktop because I want to show you, this is great if you are doing multiple things or if you just need to focus. It really helps with focusing. So Windows tab, we talked about this already. So this is showing, this is, like I said, remember the Alt tab on steroids? By hitting that, and I'm letting go of the keyboard now, it's not like Alt tab where you let go and it moves you. You can see it's showing me a history for the past several days of what I've had open and what I've done. I can search by clicking this magnifying glass if I wanted to search for something that I had open. Again, demo environment, not much going on here. But let's just say I wanted a clean environment. Maybe I had a ton of icons or I was getting ready to do a presentation. I can switch over to an additional desktop. And when I do that, you can see my apps aren't open anymore. And it looks like my old desktop, but not distracted with anything that's open. To get back to the other one, you Windows tab, and you can come up here and just go back to where you were. So again, productivity tools, things that help you maybe speed up what you're doing by spreading out how you work. Maybe you'll find ways to work a little more efficiently through that. All right. This last one is smart searching in Outlook. I put these in orange so you can see what we're going to do. I have some of these on standby so I can fly through these a little quickly. Again, you'll get this in the handout. But in the search box in Outlook, actually going to go into that now because it'll be easier and quicker.
Yeah, and Chip, I just want to give you a little time check. We're at 2:55.
Got it.
Not
Thank
to
you.
rush you.
Yep, this is the last thing, and there'll be one more poll, and then I think we'll be good for questions. So real quick, we're going to go into Outlook. We're going to do it from the web because and I want to show it from the web because the same things apply to the desktop version, but it's nice to see that you can do these things in both places. So typically, you're looking for an email in the past from, we're going to look for an email from Patty, and this is going to bring up everything from Patty, right? But say, I want something from, I'm looking for something that I know she sent to me in March. So what I can actually do is I can type in here, and I want to say from : Patty, and then I can do a space received March. Oops, might help if I type it right. Now there was nothing there. That's probably because I didn't put her whole email address in. Again, demo environment, so these don't always come up. So here. Here we go. So it's saying no results here, probably because it's a demo environment and it hasn't fully pulled it. I know it works. A simpler one, an easier one to look at is if I know I want to find an email or all my emails that have attachments. If you use has attachments : yes, you can see every email that has been brought here all has an attachment with it. So this is an easy way to look at, I really forget who sent me something, but I know it was an attachment. You can come in and do it this way. If you know it was an email that was CC'd to someone, or someone with, Bob is saying he didn't get his email and he was CC'd on it, you can do a CC : and put their name in and search for that. So anything that, Patty was CC'd on. You can also search if you have an inbox that doesn't really get well maintained, but you want to look for things that were just done this year. You can do received. There's nothing for this one. May not be working. You can do subject. I love demo environments. These worked the last week, so. But either way, you get the point. There's things you can do. I really wish this would work. I can't show you my email where I know it does work because I do this from a day-to-day basis. But let's just try this one last one. Yeah. Okay. So bummer that it's not working. I don't know if we'll get any different in Outlook, but in the interest of time, I don't want to take that up. But it does work. Trust me. You can try it on your own when you get the list. So so that brings us to the quick poll. Do you feel like you have a better understanding of Microsoft 365 and how your organization could benefit? Eleni, if you could go ahead and start that poll.
Yep, I've launched it. This is a fun one. I like it. We've had a couple of questions, Chip, come in about repeating some of the demos you've done. And so we'll try to do that. But if we don't get to it, we will definitely reach out to you all and try to get that info to you.
Yeah, we're right about 3 o'clock. I have time, so I mean, I'm willing to stick around. I understand if people have to jump off, we'll definitely keep the recording going. You can get it back. So I want to respect your time. This is the only last piece of this as far as content is just some real nerdy things. I would say that if you came here and you don't think you've learned anything yet, I guarantee you what's coming up next is something that you would probably benefit from. So again, I understand if you have to step away, you can catch it on the replay.
That sounds good. All right, I'm going to share the results. Here we go.
Awesome. So we're about split. So, but everybody's, hey, good. I mean, not many people are if they still don't understand how they could benefit, I welcome a conversation to kind of deep dive in because again, I know it's just a lot of content to squeeze into an hour. And then one thing I didn't really mention is, Microsoft 365 was called Office 365. Microsoft did a branding change a couple months ago, but it was really done to bring all the products under one roof and better represent what it is they're doing. It's more than just the office software anymore. Okay. So here we have, I didn't really see it in the poll, but we have Alex and Jenny here. Alex really hoping he would learn something new today. And then, Jenny saying, me too, Alex, even put on my good COVID webinar loungewear, because I'm not going to ask you to do a show of hands, but I'm sure some of you guys are, in comfy clothes, and I don't blame you. So here we have what I would call my disclaimer is the nerd alert. And the first thing we're going to look at is Windows Steps Recorder. I know with a lot of executive management on the line, they're probably not ones who are doing workflow creation, but there are enough people here in attendance that are probably have had the need to make a workflow or at least record your steps in one fashion or another. So we're going to actually look at that in the Windows demo environment. So let's say it was just it's a basic thing where we have staff that just don't even understand how to open Excel and start a blank basic workbook. So if we go to start and we just hit the Windows key to bring that up and we type steps, you can see this is how fast Cortana is doing the searching in the background. It already brought this up. From here, another feature, we can right click, we can pin to start, we can pin to taskbar, we can run as administrator, we can do a lot of things from here. By right clicking on it, you can see the same options are here. We're going to open Steps Recorder, and you can see it brings out this little seemingly unobvious window here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Start Record. Now from here, it's recording everything I do. So the first thing I want to do is I want to open Excel. So I recorded that, I put a little red dot, and you can see Excel is going to open. Now from here, I want to do a blank workbook. So I'm clicking on blank workbook, and I want to maximize it. And from here, we're going to do, this is where you would put, you just type in here, numbers of attendees, and then we could put, 114, whatever. We could say that there are actually, 210 is our cap. And if I wanted to do if I'm trying to teach someone to do a formula between the difference, come here, there, 96, and then we could label that difference. And I hit stop recording. Check this out. Maximize it. We can see it's telling me, I don't know if I can make it larger or not. I can. Step 1, it told me the time. User left double clicked on Excel. User left click on blank workbook. And it only has so many words it can fit in here. It got cut off, but you can see, and it's even highlighting where I clicked. So you could use this for training purposes to show, okay, so this is the window I clicked in. This is the area of the screen where I clicked. This is where I am now. All of this, all trapped with everything I was doing. Everything I typed in. And then even capturing some of my backspace shift up, like what I was doing, moving around. So this could be obviously cleaned up a little bit. But the nice thing about this is now so I have all this information. What do I do with it? Well, from here, you can hit save, and it saves it as a zip file. So we're going to save this on the desktop. Actually, I'm going to put in downloads because it's a bad habit to put things on your desktop. Fun fact. So we're going to call this Basic Excel. And we're going to jump into our downloads. And you can see it created the zip file. I'm going to extract it here. And here's my recording. Now this isn't actually a recording. This is still the same document that we saw, but now you could rename this and you could actually put this as part of your training document. Maybe you're building a website. The fact that MHTML documents are set to open in Explorer, you can change that in Windows settings. It's the first time I brought it up here, but we can see, go away. Here are the steps. So this is the same document. Now, if you have somebody that knows I mean, this is a good starting point. This isn't perfect, but it's a good starting point if you needed a rough way to show somebody how to do something. You could come in here and you could, well, the options are you could review the recorded steps, you could add additional details, you can actually view them as a slideshow. You click on that and they can come in through here and just next through all the steps. So you can really, like I said, use it as a quick impromptu, it's a little rough training opportunity. The other option is, if we go all the way back to the beginning, all the way back. Man, I didn't realize there was that much stuff. Let's just do this. If you knew, if somebody was good at, doing HTML coding or could, at least read through it enough, hire an intern, you could easily come in here and edit the source and tweak this and clean this up if you needed to. You can save the image, you can copy the image and paste it somewhere else if you wanted to just take these images and use your own documentation. So again, hopefully that's something new for you guys. So close out of all of these. All right, so then our next one is clipboard history. I don't know how many of you guys have had the problem where you copy something to your clipboard and then you get distracted and maybe you copy something else. You're like, oh shoot, I lost what I had in my copy. Well, Windows 10 aims to solve that issue with using Windows key V. So Windows key V activates clipboard history, and check this out. So we'll pretend I'm in here and I want to see something. This is keeping, now these reset every time you log off, but you can see here things that I typed. That's that image. It's not going to take it in here because it was an image from that file, but oops. Clipboard test. So you can see it's a clipboard history, and this has been huge and has saved me a ton of time for having to go back and find something, or if I'm typing a response and then a response comes in the meantime, but I was kind of like I was really going somewhere in my email, I can copy it all to my clipboard and then respond and paste it into where I need to paste it in. And last one, this one's real super techy. This is called Windows 10 Master Control Panel. The geeks call it God mode. And what this does, this is great for your admins from the standpoint of, oops, 1 second. It gets them all the shortcuts in one convenient place that an administrator would need. The steps to create this, you right click, new folder, and there is a string of letters and numbers that Windows has coded in here, but we're going to paste it. And again, it's actually in my little clipboard history. If I click that, put it in, hit enter, you're going to see it change the icon of the folder into this thing here. And if we bring this up, you can see this has administrative tools, autoplay, backup and restore Windows 7. So this is all of these things where us as admins, or even people who are just more tech savvy, say they want to go to device manager, they want to see, they want to change the default printer. It's a very easy and quick place or quick way for them to get to these areas. And as you can see why it's called God mode, because it is a literally shortcut to almost every setting that you can manage in Windows 10. Sorry. Right. You guys, you hung in there, those that stuck around, and even those who had to go, I totally understand. And I do want to appreciate and thank you for showing up. You made it. We're at the end. A lot of content. I realize that, but hopefully you have questions and we can address them, even what we don't have time for here, to follow up later. So Eleni, with that said.
All right, we do have some questions. Thank you, Chip. That was awesome. You shared lots of good stuff. All right, let's see here. Okay, let's go with this one. How do I add a person that I email many times a day to recent people when initiating an email or including to a replied email?
Okay. So let's see, let me open up Outlook here. Since the web version kind of backfired on me earlier, we'll use the full version here.
It always works that way, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Okay, and one more time, what was the question?
How do I add a person that I email many times a day to recent people?
Ah, okay. So you're talking, my assumption is they're talking about how if this recent people here.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yep. So the easiest way to do that is if you hover over the name or right click on it, there's add to Outlook contacts.
Perfect.
And click add to Outlook contacts, it brings up their contact card and you can go through and fill it out that way.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We had a couple people ask about the clipboard history. What Windows key did you use to do that, and could you show that again?
Sure, absolutely. So it's the Windows key V. So before you would use Control V for paste, for pasting from your clipboard. Move your pinky over one to the Windows key and V, and it brings up the clipboard.
Okay. Perfect. That's my favorite thing that I learned during for this webinar. All right. Let's see. How do I get to God mode again?
So God mode is you right click on the desktop and you create a new folder, and then you need the syntax, and again it'll be in the handout, but you paste the syntax into the file name, and you can see it here. I mean, you can grab a screenshot. I'll pause here if you want to grab a screenshot of what the syntax is. It's universal. It goes for all versions of Windows 10. But once you paste that in and you hit enter, it already has one there, so I'm just going to say yes because I want to replace it. But that's when it shows this, and you can see I wanted to bring it over into the white. There is no name on this icon, and you really can't rename it because could break it. So you just have to know that's what this icon's for, and then just double click the icon, and that takes you into where you need to go. So real quick way to get there.
Thank you. And we'll do one more since we're running a bit late. Let's see here. Is OneDrive more for individual employees to save their own files?
So that's a great question. OneDrive is very, I guess you could look at it this way. OneDrive and SharePoint, while they work together, OneDrive is more for your My Documents. So in the past in Windows 7, you had your My Documents folder. So short answer to that question is yes. Your OneDrive is your My Documents in the cloud, where SharePoint is more of your network shares in the cloud. One thing I did not show, which that question prompted, is you can see this files on demand piece that we talked about before, very briefly in the overview. You can see this is my OneDrive. This is showing me that the file is local and it's being backed up. If I wanted to just, I'm just going to do free up space because I want you to see that's a syncing, and now this is showing me that this is a file reference and the file itself actually lives in the cloud. But if I were to double click this to open it, you can see it's syncing. It just downloaded the file, and now because I have a copy locally, I can work on it. You also see autosave gets turned on in that feature as well. This is great for if you travel. You can document or have the file downloaded ahead of time, work on it, make your changes, and then as soon as you have internet access, it will then sync back to the cloud. So the version is the same at both places. Excuse me.
Great. Awesome. We have a couple more questions, but I think we'll wrap it up there, and we will try to reach out to you for those of you that we didn't get to your questions and get answers to those. So anyway, I hope you all found the information that we shared today valuable, and that you definitely have some new shortcuts and tips that you can use to hopefully get to those 64 hours saved. I know I do. So We have some information here, some contact info for those of you who may not be working with Kite technology. If you'd like to learn more about our services, please do reach out to us. We'd be happy to set up a time to talk and just see how we can help you with your technology needs. We do have just a very brief survey at the end, if you wouldn't mind taking a minute to complete that. And last but not least, we have one other webinar coming up. We actually have a couple, but our next one coming up is on September 8th, and it's going to be for our insurance folks, focusing on reporting and applied ethics. So be on the lookout for that information. And we'll be sending that out probably in the next week or so. All right, so thank you everybody for joining us today. We hope that you enjoyed your time with us and learned some new things, and we hope to see you all soon. Take care.